Hi, everybody. My name is Amy Grace. Welcome to this week's podcast. I'm so excited you decided to join us and to be a part of our movement. Again, am Amy Collins. I'm the founder and creator of masterbrides.com. We are an online bridal subscription resource for brides to help them plan their wedding and to help them navigate all of the different things that you need to do while planning your special day. Today, I am so excited to invite on not only a friend, but one of the best industry colleagues I know. Her name is Ashley Ray, and she owns Ashley Ray Studio. It's based out of Central Coast, California. Ashley is truly one of the nicest people you will ever meet in your entire life, first and foremost. But second off, she is just an incredible human as far as how she approaches her bridal clients and how she has her clients experience their wedding day. She's truly one of a kind. She's going to talk to us about the different things about planning a wedding, but more importantly, she's going to talk about, what if you don't have money for a really expensive photographer and kind of how to navigate that. So I'm excited to bring her on today. I'm excited to have you meet her. And I encourage you to reach out to her and take advantage of the awesome opportunities that she's going to give you today. So without further ado, let's welcome Ashley. Hey, Ashley, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Hi, Amy. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here today. Our brides are going to learn a lot of stuff and hear about your perspective as an industry-leading photographer. So why don't we start by just telling our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself, why you got into photography.
Sure.
A little bit about you and your own life.
Sounds great. Well, Ashley Ray Studio is my business name. My last name is actually Blassingame. So I figured I would go with my middle name, Ashley Ray, just to make things a little bit easier.
Longest URL on the planet, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Ashley Ray Studio, and I'm based out of beautiful Central Coast, California. And my husband and I, we have a photography and cinematography business. We get to work with a lot of amazing couples all over. And I specialize in both film and digital photography. So film is a real passion of mine, has become a real passion of mine. So we like to be able to deliver a lot of unique imagery as well as cinematography. My husband and I, we love working together, kind of approaching weddings together when we get the chance, and really create a cohesive, basically, gallery and film for our couples. And we are big on just kind of understanding couples' vision for their wedding, because every couple has a different vision. So when we get to know different couples, we like to ask lots of questions and understand their aesthetic and who their vendors are. And that helps us to basically know how to best capture their wedding day, because it needs to be unique to them. And obviously they need to have beautiful imagery and video.
Why photography? What made you pick it?
Honestly, I shot cinematography. I shot videos, wedding films for a long time, and I always enjoyed it. But the first time I did, my brother-in-law got engaged, and I was like, I'll do your engagement photos. And literally, like, I got like this adrenaline high from like just shooting their engagement photos. I don't know. It was like that day from then on, there's something that I just love it. Like, I really, really love. And you know what part of it is it's like, I've always wanted to call myself like an artist in the like raw sense, where you can like paint and sculpt, but I can never do any of those things. But I can put certain things in a frame and click the shutter button. So it's a little bit easier for me in that sense, in terms of artistic ability.
I love it. I think it's funny. I got into the industry well over almost 2 decades ago. Gosh, that makes me feel old. But it was interesting because, we were actually on film back then, right? You had to like make sure the photography team had enough film, and you're like, oh my gosh, like don't run out. And I think there was a different, and obviously you saw that element of that when you're playing with film, right? You can't like just shut
right. Oh yeah.
Photos.
Great.
But I think there is something, it's funny, back when I started, like being an artist wasn't cool, right? Like back in early 2000s, it was like, you're an artist? Like really? You can make a living doing that? It's
Right,
like,
right.
oh, yeah, it can. And fast forward to, almost 2020, people are like, oh, I'm an artist. And it's like such a different environment
Reverse.
where it's
Yeah.
like, we're cool now? We're cool? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Full
You want to
second.
be us now? You want to be us?
Your desired job. So
Yeah.
I laugh at that because I know what you're talking about as far as like, again, I can't paint anything. Like I wish, like
I know. Me neither.
that is artistic ability, but what we do, I suppose, is too. But you're more than us. Like I can make a
No.
design a good tablescape, but no, there's something about that. And I think too, like when you're thinking about videography versus photography, like videography, the cool thing about it is like you get the emotion, right? You see it, like and whatnot. Yeah. But there's something about a photo, like if you can capture that, like in that moment, oh my gosh. Yes. So let me ask you a question, going off script a little for those who are listening and watching, because Ash doesn't know I'm going to actually ask this question. What is your favorite shot to get at a wedding?
Oh, that is loaded. My favorite shot. I honestly don't know if I could answer that because I feel like certain candid imagery is so important. And some of my favorite images can be like, even of the couple's like grandparents sneaking a kiss, like during the reception that they didn't see me, capture. But then also like, again, we chatted about it earlier, but like a photo where the bride just looks absolutely stunning too are some of my favorite images, and detail on a dress or anything that like connects you emotionally to the image. I think it's so hard to answer that because I feel like in your gallery, in your wedding gallery, you should have multiple images that you respond to emotionally, know? So I don't know if you could even say one is more valuable than the other kind of thing.
You're such an artist, right? Like I love them all. I'll take them all. I have one. I'll just share mine.
Okay, yeah, tell me.
In our perspective.
Yeah.
So my favorite thing is that we do make it all about the bride, and we're going to talk about that and talk about Ashley's like passion for brides. And I think those of you gals who are listening are just going to fall in love with her because I know we all do. But my favorite photo is of the groom when he's walking down the aisle.
Yes.
And he like sees his bride. It doesn't matter if it's first look. It doesn't matter if it's just that flash real quick when he's like, and his eyes, and they all glass over. I don't care if you have first look or not. I swear grooms who have first look actually cry harder in their ceremonies than that. Because I think they're more relaxed.
Definitely seen that. Yeah,
they're more relaxed. But there's that moment where their eyes like get glassy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that guy didn't think he was gonna cry. And they always get glassy, and I just love that moment. The inhale, the glassy eyes, and because everyone's turned around to look at the bride, and they think about him. And when I had that photographer just like zone in on their eyes, oh my gosh, it's my favorite shot of the wedding.
You know what? It's so interesting that you say that because one of the biggest, I send a questionnaire to all my brides about what photos are important to you. Is there anything, that you just want to reiterate? And one of the most common ones is the groom's reaction when he sees that's a key photograph. Yeah, you have to have that.
Everyone sees it. Everyone's looking at the girl. They don't see him. He's all like hanging out in the back, freaking out.
I know. Yeah, and then it's fun. Yeah, sometimes you catch the groomsmen in there too, looking at the groom as he's crying, and they're crying. Man, some of these groomsmen are more emotional than you think too.
Oh my gosh, they really get into it. I feel like it's because people are getting married older and they like have more emotional life experience together.
Yes.
The last man standing and they're like, he's joining us.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Oh my gosh, no, that's funny. So transitioning now, when Ashley and I were doing this debrief kind of this podcast and the information we wanted to bring you brides, one thing I ask, all of our vendors that come on is what's something that gets you excited? Like why weddings? What is that? Who's the most important person to you in the process? And, what's something that you want to bring forward? And so I asked Ashley the same question, and your answer is, who's your person? What's your passion about a wedding day?
Yeah. So I've always appreciated, design and style. That's why I appreciate you planners too, because so much goes on behind the scenes in terms of creating a specific aesthetic and really something that's unique to each bride and groom, because each couple has their own love story and they're all unique. And for the most part, that's going to come through in even the small details as well as the large details of the wedding day. So for me, I love understanding couples' vision because that helps me to elevate wedding imagery on their day. And I want couples to feel like I'm connected to what they're envisioning, what they're seeing for their special day. I love details. I love shooting details. I love shooting bridal portraits. I always try to get photos of both the groom and the bride individually, but like if I get an extra few minutes just with the bride to really style her in her dress and get these like really beautiful romantic photos of her, I could like live on that for a week. It's just so fun. And I think, you see a lot of emotion on a wedding day. Like I guess maybe part of it is like, I got married a couple of years ago and the day goes by so fast. So fast. And like afterwards, I'm thinking, man, I would really love to relive it, but I can't. Like I want to relive that day over and over again. And so maybe part of my love for weddings too is just feeling like I'm getting a little piece of this with these brides. Right. Relive my dreams.
That's why we're all in the wedding industry. Just want to live our weddings over and over and over.
I don't know. Yeah.
I know. I see what you're saying. And you know what's interesting? Just from a historical perspective, for those of you listening who are young girls and just getting married, bridal portraits used to be a really big deal. Like a really big deal. Like pictures of the bride. And if I recall correctly, like you would go to an actual studio and like get your dress on and get your hair done, and you got bridal photos. And we don't see that as much anymore. So it's cool to see like, so just a few shots of the bride, the fact that you're taking, your name is Ashley Ray Studio, right? So you clearly have that studio style photography and taking that and somehow in the mass pandemonium of the day, getting her to calm down enough to capture those moments is priceless. It's just priceless to make her feel,
Totally. And that's a huge part of being a photographer too, is just that communication with the bride on the wedding day. And like, I just real quick, I remember shooting a wedding and it was just fast paced like usual. And the bride had a moment where she was going to put on her wedding dress and like I could tell she was rushed, she's like, okay, I need to put it on now. I need to put on my dress. And her name was Ashley too. And I was like, Ashley, like we're okay. Like just enjoy. You're never gonna like get this moment again. Like enjoy putting on your wedding dress, So I love being able to just kind of maybe be a third party too at weddings to, be able to say, look, like, no, we're okay. Like be reassuring a little bit that you're still going to get married today.
The planners are coming in and yelling at you. Get on time. You guys are like,
everything's going to work out. Like enjoy this moment. And maybe it goes back to me being like, I want to relive. Right. Like I want to relive putting on my wedding dress. So I'm like, maybe that's where it came from too, where I'm just like, no, really enjoy this moment. Soak it in because you're not going to get it back, so.
No, and I think that's a really good point. And for those of you watching and listening, I want to reiterate something to you because I think so many times, and Ashley, I know you're going to back me up on this, people, you're booking your vendors, right? And you're looking at the costs and they get, more and more and more expensive. And you see packages like with photographers. This is where I see it happen all the time. They'll go, well, I don't want to pay for the extra hours, right? And I'm like, that's a bad idea. Spend the extra $350 an hour, buy the extra 2 hours, get your 10 hours of coverage. Because what happens is then everything that they want to happen as a planner, we have to scrunch into that 8 hours, right? So everything becomes more just heightened as far as speed. Right. So we as planners go, okay, well, if you take forever to get into your dress, you're not going to get your first dance. You know what I mean? Because they're not on contract that long. So I would encourage, and I'm sure you'll back me up on this, get the bigger package. You're never going to regret that your photographers are there longer, and you're already paying a lot of money for them to show up. Like pay a couple $100 extra bucks and get all the photos.
Absolutely. In fact, I just, my couple, I'm shooting a wedding in a week or so, and they've added in the last like month and a half, as they've been creating, as they've been seeing all the details that are getting together, looking at their timeline, they've added 3 extra hours. to their collection, because, and this is what I tell couples too. The most important thing is that you enjoy your day, that you are happy, that you like love your wedding day. And one of the most negative feelings you can feel on your wedding day is feeling rushed. And so, you know, and a lot of times couples are booking a year now or more in advance, and you have that time. I mean, a few $100s to add, you know, to go for the larger package or to add a few more hours, you have the course of time too, a lot of times. And, you know, see if your photographer will work with you on that. You know, can I do a payments or whatever? A lot of times they'll be happy to do that for you, just to get you, hopefully to get you what you want. And so and you really enjoy your day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I just love that we're talking about this, because I feel like it is one of those things that people go, oh, you know, we can get away with, right? I always hear that we can get away with this many hours. Yes, you can get away with it, but are you going to enjoy yourself? And you're spending tens of $1,000s of you many on this day, and spend a couple extra $100 to capture it all, to slow down, to have that time. Because as a planner, I hate the fact that I do have to.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It is not a good feeling. But I also, what's not a good feeling is them coming back and saying, well, they were gone before blank, blank, blank happened. Right. Well, you guys were slow. So, you know, I think being realistic about your packages are so important. Yep, so important. And understanding, like, you want 45 minutes into your timeline to get into that dress. It takes that long from the time you're done with your makeup. Give it to yourself. So for those of you brides that are in our Master Brides program, and when we're creating your timelines and we're working through this process, we really coach our brides on this, like really, really strong timeline management, because it's so important to do this correctly. So for those of you who aren't in the Master Brides program and you're working on a timeline yourself, or you have a planner, you know, a lot of times our planners try to be so efficient. I understand this. It's my personality with your time, but sometimes we have to be generous with our time more, and just stretch. You know, things are going to take longer. People aren't going to show up at the same time. You know, your makeup, you may have it put on and you don't like it, and so you have to get it taken off and put back on. Well, you want to be accounting for that kind of stuff. So just be really conscious of that when you're building your timelines. Be conscious of the fact that your photographers like legitimately want to capture everything about your day. So, you know, before we jumped on here, Ashley was telling me, I just want the bride to feel beautiful. Like, this is my whole thing. I just want her to look at her photos and know she's beautiful. And I'm like, exactly, like a Disney princess. It sounds so cliche, right? Like, we grow up with our little princess tiaras and our dresses, for those of us who did. You know, and you just want to feel that. And if you're rushed, you're not going to feel that, are you?
Right. Ugh. Yeah, and along those lines too, you know, hopefully your photographer takes an interest in your timeline too, and gives you feedback, you know, along with your planner as well.
I think it's so important. I love that. I think our brides are going to resonate with that message. So a couple things. Like Ashley said, she lives on the Central Coast and gets to shoot some of the most beautiful wedding spaces in the country. We love doing weddings on the Central Coast, our team as well. And she travels all over the country. So for those of you who want to follow her, first of all, because she has a fantastic Instagram, what is your Instagram handle?
At Ashley Rae Studio. Rae, R-A-E.
Okay,
and perfect. Ashley, the traditional spelling.
Yeah, right, L-E-Y. So Ashley Rae Studio, and then so follow her, and she is being super generous to our listeners. And for those of you who want to book her, first of all, if you're in Central Coast California or in California in general, this is probably most doable for you guys. She's going to be offering $500 off if you book with her, and you just have to say Master Brides, that you're listening to us on a Master Brides podcast. Thank you for that, Ashley. Geez, you're so generous.
Hey.
Yeah, she's worth every penny, full price. So the fact that she's giving you a discount, like, just consider that golden. Put it on for some extra hours, right? Like, actually, right?
You're worth it.
But for those of you who maybe live in Miami or, you know, Pennsylvania or someplace, and you just like are totally drawn to her work and you want to work with her, she does travel. So keep that in mind. And I will tell you that the brides who work with Ashley are calm and confident. And my team actually just did a wedding with her a month ago, and I got texts like we just love Ashley. She is so fun to work with. It's so much fun with them and her team. Her brother-in-law has a great film team. Is it
Yeah,
brother?
my brother.
Yeah. He owns a film company. They just happen to be shooting the same wedding. And so it was one big happy family. Clearly that wedding.
Oh yeah. We had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the other thing. If you don't feel emotionally connected to your photographer, chances are they're not going to be able to capture you in your most natural self. So I really encourage when you are booking your vendors and you're having that conversation, if you have that gut feeling at all of, ooh, I feel like I'm just part of a cattle call or another number, or like photography, like we've talked about, it's artistry. And if they don't feel drawn to you, they're not going to capture the best you. And I hate for anybody to go through that. So, and again, if your budget is strapped and you don't have a lot for photography, my suggestion is really consider where you are willing to cut to make sure you get those. Those are the one things that last, right? Like at the end of the day, the alcohol's drank, the food's out, but your photography is the one thing you'll look back at and you'll get to have for a lifetime. So spend the money there, in my opinion. I always tell people spend more on your photography than you emotionally want to. You want credit when they come in and you want to relive your wedding day like we all do, right? And it's some of the best money we'll spend. So Ashley, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being a part of the movement to help brides understand how to plan their wedding in a most effective manner. And we love your work and we encourage you guys to follow her again. That's at Ashley Ray Studio on Instagram. If they want to email you to reach out, what's your email, Ashley?
Sure. Ashley Ray at Studio.
Okay, perfect. And we will put all the information in the podcast notes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
There you have it. Isn't she just incredible? I absolutely love Ashley. She's just such a doll and just a dear person in my life. And Ashley, thank you for coming on and being a part of today. We just loved having you. Come back anytime. I want to touch really quickly on Master Brides for those of you who may or may not know the full extent of everything that's there. We're really excited about some of the big changes that are going to be happening here in the next month. For those of you who are listening when this podcast releases on October 1st, we are right in the heat of bringing everybody into our brand new Facebook page starting this week. And it's a free Facebook page. And all you have to do is go to masterbrides.com and click free Facebook page. If you're listening to this podcast later on or watching this on YouTube later on, that's okay too, because we're going to keep the Facebook group open. What's going to happen is we're going to do some live launches in there, and we're going to do education and training at least once a week once we go past these first 10 days. But starting October 7th, we're going to do 10 days of intensive onboarding, talking about different aspects of your wedding planning, getting people excited, and then we're fully launching Master Brides nationally November 1st. So people will be placed in their courts and we'll actually get started with our planning process. We're so incredibly excited. So join us on October 1st. So today, go to masterbrides.com and click on the free Facebook group. But if you're listening to this afterwards, that's okay too. Just go to masterbrides.com and also click the tab that says join our free Facebook group. We can go from there. For those of you who don't know, Master Brides is a subscription-based wedding planning service. It's the only one like it in the industry. And what we do is we help you plan your wedding as efficiently as possible. We usually recommend that you take 2 hours a week to plan your wedding and to plan it effectively, efficiently with all the help of a planning team, whether it's myself or our team or experts that we bring on through the planning process. For a low subscription fee of $39 a month, you get access to everything, all the planning tools, all the software, everything you need to plan your wedding like a pro. We understand many of you want to plan your own weddings. You're excited about it. And so what we want to do is make sure you do it right the first time and that you know how to do it and the ways we do it as planners and some tips and tricks out there. The coolest thing about our program is that you are placed in a cohort of brides that are getting married in the same month you are. So unlike free Facebook groups out there where you may be getting a lot of information, and I know a lot of those are really great out there, we take you as an individual group, say June 2020 brides, and we help you plan based on where you're at in the process, and you experience it all together and get to actually like be a part of a movement together as you're planning your wedding. So you're experiencing the same highs, experiencing the same like emotions. You get to celebrate together when after you get married, and we're going to do, you know, a big champagne toast together. So we're excited about this. We're excited about the possibilities of what it's going to do to the industry. We just have a passion that every single bride should have access to incredible planning tools, incredible planning advice, and be able to actually enjoy planning their wedding and then live their wedding in first person. So join us, masterbrides.com. We're so excited to have you a part of this movement, and I will see you then. Bye for now.